Yo, what up everybody, it's Tuna. So today I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Atlas progression and what can accelerate your Atlas progression from, potentially being 12 plus hours to T16s to it being 8 plus hours from the very start of the league, depending on, of course, how fast you complete the axe. And the answer to that is Wandering Path. You might think to yourself, Wandering Path is one of those things that's tied to all the endgame sort of farming strategies where you're farming divination cards, quantity, and all that kind of stuff, but no, that is not just it. So what you're seeing here on screen is that I am 8 hours and 6 minutes into endgame, and basically I took 4 hours for the campaign and I am running T16 maps on my character, right? How do you do that, you think? So 4 hours from killing Act 10 Kitava to T16s to then fighting the endgame bosses and getting my 2 watchstones. Now, the benefit of that is the fact that you will be able to get your 2 watchstones as soon as possible, as long as your build can actually handle killing those bosses. And the second benefit of that is that those watchstones will actually give you additional chance to drop T16s. And as you can see here from this map, you'll see that I'm basically dropping just a ton of maps every map. You will be guaranteed 1 adjacent map every map you run if you spec into this sort of atlas, as well as additional chance for those maps to be duplicated. No matter what you're doing, you will drop an adjacent map. It's basically going to naturally progress your atlas very, very quickly, and you're going to be getting to endgame maps faster than you've ever done, right? So let's go and talk a little bit about the atlas and how you can spec your atlas to actually achieve this and why you should do it, some of the plus and cons, pros and cons and stuff like that. All right, so the premise of this atlas is that you want to be rushing Wandering Path as soon as possible, right? Wandering Path is a keystone that makes your small Atlas passive skills be doubled, basically, their effect be doubled. What that means is that also that your notables will not take effect, so you won't be able to actually spec into any league mechanics that, kind of require those notables to be good. In some cases, Expedition was thought of, to be one of those mechanics. In other cases, maybe Harvest or whatever, right? But we are not going to be farming any league mechanics whatsoever as we're progressing our Atlas early, as our goal is to get T14 plus maps as fast as possible, kill the 2 watchstone bosses, Eater and Exarch, and then from there, we want to spec into something else. So the Atlas progression will go something like this. Go straight through the middle of the Atlas passive tree. You'll take these nodes that give you 2% chance for each monsters to drop an adjacent map, right? And then these nodes here, which grant you 1% chance to grant additional Kirak mission. That is because Kirak early, what he's going to do is he's going to provide you a lot of the maps that you need to basically start off your Atlas and accelerate your progression that way. And then we go through the middle here. You will take these keystones, which do not do anything really right now since we won't be getting use of it. We just want to basically path through these nodes here, which have a 5% chance for maps to be 1 tier higher, which, will be very useful later on. But then we want to spec into Wandering Path. So now you have your base Atlas. And from here, we want to build up as many of these nodes as possible. Now, because of Wandering Path, doubling this, that is 4% per node. So if I was to look at my stat summary, I would want to make sure that I am getting as close to 100% as possible, right? So I will do that by specing all of these here. I like to make this symmetrical, but it doesn't really matter, of course. You spec it however you want. So we'll basically look something like this. There you go. Now I have a 100% chance to drop an adjacent map as long as, I've killed all the monsters in my map. So essentially what you'll be doing is you're going to go into your maps and you're going to search for that adjacent map. And then from there, you kill the map boss and you do not even have to complete the rest of the map, as that will be your +1 and you can go on to the next map, right? But then from here on out, your Atlas passive tree can go into basically what you want to do is you want to spec into these 5% chance for 1 tier higher to get as many of those as possible, because that is going to give you a higher chance to get, +1s rather than it being 1 tier lower. So boom, boom, we will take as many of those as possible. And there you go. That is the base of your Atlas passive tree. And from here, you can basically spec into any mechanic. One of the very nice things about this Atlas passive tree as well is that nodes like this, for example, like the Legion, are going to be doubled. So that is going to give you a very high chance to spawn Legions if you want to do that. Or you can also grab Blight encounters here. You get additional chance to spawn Blights. And you can still use keystones, right? So Stream of Consciousness is something that you can still grab. Another thing you can do is Expedition. So you'll have 4% chance to gain additional Expedition. That is turned into 8% thanks to Wandering Path. And it's going to give you also increased quantity of, artifacts dropped by monsters. So imagine you wanted to do an Expedition tree. You would grab all of those nodes and then the new keystone that increases the radius, right? So it's going to make losing the notables a little less worse than what it was before. And then you'll spec into all of the other small nodes. And there you go. Then you would build up your map base and you would be, you know, you've basically set yourself up in T14 plus. And then once you have done that, that is at that point when you probably want to unspec Wandering Path. You know, once we have like 20 T16s or so and you've completed a lot of your atlas, you want to unspec out of that. And then at this point, you probably want to grab all of your notables and, you know, continue on with the atlas as you normally would. And, you know, little by little, you know, you can still keep these nodes as they will give you a lot of sustain, but little by little early, as you progress and your maps are just going to be, you know, you're going to be dropping a ton of maps. You can start to respec all of these and gain more passive skills to, you know, specialize in a mechanic that you really enjoy. Another really nice tip that you can have for early atlas passive tree is the fact that you can have this new passive here, all hands. So all hands is going to increase the chance for a random master encounter by 40%, depending on the, you know, which one you would spec into. And it's also give you, you know, 150% of the value. For example, if I wanted to get Nico, this is a 100% increased chance to find Nico in my maps. But because it's increased by 150%, it's basically going to be, you know, 150% more of 100%. So you spec into that, and then you can grab Packed with Energy, for example, and you're going to be getting a ton of bonuses every time you click a sulfide pile. And I'm pretty sure with just this node and that node, it's going to be roughly be around 27% chance to encounter Nico in your maps. So that means that not only will you be able, you know, to maybe delve for additional maps, since cities provide a ton of them, and maybe get some curse on hit rings to, you know, to sell to people like the Hex Blast miners, which are going to be, you know, a very profitable way to Leaguestart as well. But on top of that, it's going to make your mapping a lot smoother, right? And then you can also grab your, you know, maybe you want some additional shrines and you want to grab some more shrine nodes here and there to even, you know, accelerate your mapping and make that feel a lot better. Essentially, yeah, this is the basic tips that you can have and the things that will make your early mapping experience very nice and, you know, much smoother than what you would normally have if you didn't spec into them. From there on, you know, basically do whatever you like. In my case, I will be specking into legions, so I will have as many legions spawning as possible, and I will share a couple of trees here in the description for you guys to look at. And, you know, but the most important thing to note is that all of these mechanics are pretty good on Leaguestart. You know, you want to have legions, you want to have blight, you could even do, you know, June is very strong, or expedition, but those are pretty much the strongest ones that you can do. Some people like essences if they stay in lower tiers as well. I personally don't really like that. But essentially, the most important thing is to get the T14 plus, and that's where Wandering Path is gonna, you know, where Wandering Path is gonna accelerate you to that stage. And then from there, you do any mechanic that you please, and you respec your atlas in a certain way. So that pretty much sums it up. I just wanted to do a very quick video explaining the Wandering Path mechanic and why you should do it, and provide you guys a tree, of course, that you can follow on Leaguestart. But make sure that you are ready to go into those T16s. If your build is a little bit slower, do not feel the need to actually, you know, run these higher tier maps, since they can be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, the tip would be always run your highest map and always progress as fast as possible so that you can gain access to those, you know, insane rewards from the Eldritch Altars. That pretty much sums it up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Leaguestart, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day, everybody, and I appreciate you all. Peace.